mentioned how rewarding it is, and they're a team to look up to because they have been in their own way very successful.
That Lions manager deserves a hell of a lot of credit. He also manages the under-23s as well. He takes it upon himself to do.
I love him. He's one of the nicest guys in Gibraltar that I can't understand, but I love him. And I don't know how I'm going to get by this year because every time I see him, I hug him. We hug.
I was just about to say that. You don't give me a hug, and I'm nothing to do with anything.
We hug. He speaks in his strong Spanish accent, something. I speak in my bad Scottish Unito accent, something. We hug again, and I walk away, and he always wishes me good luck. And he's just one of the nicest characters to meet on the sideline. He's lovely.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And he also managed Europa Point, didn't he, to a double? Wasn't it him the year before you guys? Didn't he win the double with Europa Point? No, it wasn't Europa Point. Who was it?
Phoenix. He beat me. He beat me to the league title with a team, and I can't lie, we were the second best team in the league that year, and they were the best team. They were fantastic. We had a great team, but he was a good manager, a good coach. And we played Manchester in the playoff. The team from Manchester came down.
Yeah.
And Manchester beat us 3-1 on the playoff that day. But that Phoenix team was, well, it was a strong team. Don't get me wrong, he's a fantastic coach, great character. But they did have a strong Spanish influence in that team.
Yeah, they had a good team.
A very good team. But yeah, so he's done the double in the second division.
So he obviously knows our league quite well, doesn't he? Let's be honest.
There's not many managers done the double in the second division.
There's the odd one or two. But there's not many that boast about it. I haven't heard it.
No, it's not something. I've actually tried to get it taken off my CV.
No,
I haven't.
Don't worry, I'll delete it on Wikipedia now as we speak. No problem.
It's a great division. It's been a great division for progression. It's a shame we don't have it anymore. Great to build and then see what you can do when you come up. I mean, for instance,
I always wanted the under-23s to go into the second division.
Yeah, well, that's what they do. That's what they do in Spain and Portugal.
Yeah. There's talk about they're trying to get that to happen in Scotland. Down the Rangers have proposed something like that. The B teams to go in.
Yeah.
I loved Gibraltar. Going back before UEFA, I loved it when we had the two leagues and we had the reserve league. And you know, Lincoln had their B team and the third division, and I liked that because there's an element of football for fun, and then there's the element of football for seriousness. And at the moment, if you're a 20, this is where the homegrown player thing is, and where we lost players when we went professional or semi-professional. There's 20-something-year-old lads who love football, maybe love five-a-side, maybe love 11-a-sides.
Well, I think that's where a lot of them are going now, into five-a-side.
Five-a-sides. But what they can't do is they can't play for a club on a Sunday morning or Saturday morning, 11-a-side, just go and enjoy the football. Just go and play for a club.
That's been one of the victims, that criteria which you rightly mentioned is being one of the victims of UEFA football. We've lost that.
We lost it. It's a level of grassroots within itself. That is, you know, you've got people seem to think that grassroots is kids, or women. No, grassroots is a 46-year-old man like me going and meeting up with other over 45s and playing every week because we can, and there's a facility for us to do it. Grassroots is the 20-something-year-old lad who works at a betting company, Gibraltarian or not, playing for the Dog and Duck on a Sunday morning, you know, in a league that's part refereed by the players but part by the FA, but it allows you to play football. And you'll find the odd star from that will go and join a club.
I remember one of my other lads, he cut his teeth at 15 years old. They say, right, you're 15, and you're going to play for the B team. And there was 5 of those players that ended up spending the whole of the second half of the season playing with grown men, but they gained from the experience of those men as well. And those 5 young lads progressed a hell of a lot quicker going through a team like that than sitting there waiting for a chance on the bench that never came.
Yeah, which never came.
I call Kenneth prehistoric. But I came from football at prehistoric times in Scotland, where, as we said before we started recording this, I said that when I first went professional at 16, I had to go and train with the men. There was no 16s, 17s, 18s. I was into the squad. The club had a 25-man squad, and 5 of us were 16. We were straight in there. The old-fashioned apprenticeships, 1988, 99, 90, wherever it was. But prior to that, Kenneth, I don't know if it was similar in England or you remember back then, but when you went professional, I went professional at 12 and a half, 13. I signed what was called an S form, schoolboy form. So I was a schoolboy professional.
YTS.
Yeah, before the YTS, just before that. So I played for my club. I went to school, but I was a professional, and on 2 nights a week, I went to train with Kamala. But I was 13. I went and trained with the men. I was 14. I trained with the reserve team, and then the under-16s or under-18 team would do the second half of the training session, and I trained with them. And playing 2 leagues up, which is something that happens in England a lot when they want to see a player that's good enough. And we do it here because of our 2-year age gap. But actually playing 2 years up is something that they do quite a lot in the UK to develop players. So like you just said there, Neil, yeah, it will develop them. For the first, I won't lie, for the first 12 weeks, I was picking up bruises and taking knocks and just picking myself out of the mud. But you develop so quickly. And that's the main reason when I got to 16, I was able to get my head and shoulders above the other 50 lads that were trying to get a professional contract. And I got my contract is because I've been training with the men.
Yeah.
Yeah, but look, in Gibraltar in the 80s, it's very similar scenario, Dave. You had the under 12 and the under 16, right? So, and at those ages, if you're a 12-year-old playing against a 16-year-old, there's a huge gulf in everything, physical, and the preparation was there. Then from there, you went into playing to the league.
Yeah.
So
I remember the under-17 team playing in the 3rd division. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So boys became men earlier. Then all of a sudden, you change everything to the under 7, under 9, under 11, under 13, under 15. I mean, for me, I think it spoils a bit the development. They take longer to mature. Then this thing now about the heading of the ball. I mean, look, I'm sorry, for me, it's not for me. They might have been some scientific development, and I don't mean, I'm not a doctor. I don't profess to be one, but when I used to play in the old naval grounds,
medicine ball, mate. It wasn't a football; it was a medicine ball.
Exactly, and when it rained, Neil. I mean, and it's part and parcel of the game. I mean, and then I think there's some ulterior motive behind all of this, because one of the promoters of it has been Alan Shearer. He made a career. He made a career from bloody being one of the best headers of the ball.
Yeah.
It's I'm with you on it. That's all I can say. That I'm with you on it, because I spent my lifetime as a kid. You had to hone your skills. So you got your ball, the old mitre multiplex. Remember that? How sore was that when it hit you? When it left pimples on you, when it on pitch 1 and pitch 2 wet, and that hit you and left pimples all up your legs. I took the old mitre multiplex, and in order to enhance my heading and improve my game, you had to go and you find a wall and go from 10 headers off the wall, and you had 50 to 100. So where kids now do keepy uppies, when you think back to those days, Kenneth, as a kid, you used a wall when your mates, you didn't have your mates around you. You banged off garage doors. You played in the street. You played on the sand-based pitches that we used to have. It was the facilities and the hardships of what you had as a footballer that developed you and matured you a lot quicker. We're making it too easy. We'll take our kids to Sports City, or we'll take them to Decathlon, and we'll buy them the softest slippers for €150. We'll give them the lightest football strips, and we'll make sure the balls are pumped to the correct level. By the way, I'm not saying we shouldn't do that now, because we have to move with the times. I get that. I have to, and as a coach,
me too.
I have to move with the times. But what we're doing is we're making it easier for them to accept that, well, do you know what? I failed, so I'm not going to try any harder. And that's all we're doing. We're allowing them.
That you saw the point I was trying to make. You're taking the hunger away from the player, which will lead to less players making it.
Yeah, that's
the way I see it.
That's it in a nutshell for me. If I have 10 local players who've had it hard, I'll maybe develop 7 or 8 of them. If I've got 10 local players who have what we have now, football, constant football, see when it's not good enough for them, they'll go and play hockey. Do you know what, I don't fancy this, I'll go and do something else. Basketball, because there's easy steps away, but we have to move with the times, but it's tough. It's getting tougher. But again, I'm very fortunate that we've got a big bunch of homegrown players at Manchester at the time, and it's just my job as a coach to try and keep them there.
So what's your point of view on the homegrown player rule? Are we going to 5 this season, or is it still to be decided?
I think it's definitely going to 5. As far as I know, it's definitely going to 5. If you'd asked me that,
5, yeah.
If you'd asked me that as a Bruno's manager,
This is the point I'm trying to make. Yeah, go on.
I would have said
no.
It's tough. I would have said I'd rather stay at 4. If you asked me as a Bruno's manager, I would have said it's tough, and the reason it's tough is I've got money, and those kids know I've got money, and in order to put them in my squad, they want more money. That's why it was easier for me to bring in players from America. This is the truth. It was cheaper for me to bring a player in from America or England and house him here or house him in Spain, feed him and pay him than some of the homegrown players I tried to sign.
Really?
It was cheaper to do that.
Yes. That is quite...
I wasn't bringing players in, Kenneth, and anyone that's seen my squads, I wasn't bringing in players in from overseas who were head and shoulders above everyone. I was bringing in good team squad players, some 1 or 2 fantastic lads, but good squad players because it was cheaper.
Wow.
It was cheaper from the lads I have. Don't get me wrong, Bruno's were a team who had no history, and we were just trying to build our history and develop. I'm now at a club like Manchester where I don't have that problem. So now with the homegrown player rule, I can play devil's advocate and be a hypocrite and go, yeah, increase it as much as you want. Because we are saying we might not finish in the top 3 and I'm not expected to, and I have so many homegrown players, I can play them.
One more point. We were talking about the under-23s before, and last year, Hound Dogs were given an exemption. We were saying that there was times where, you could play and you could play in a lower league and whatnot. I was happy for Hound Dogs to stay in that league because there was no way they were probably prepared enough to be playing week in, week out against the likes of Lincoln, St Joseph's, Europa.
I think everyone was, yeah.
I just wonder whether there should be a couple more exemptions, because if the trouble is that we've got players out there that probably want to have a game of football, but they're being frightened off playing because they're not at the level of the new Premier League, if you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah. So the training demands, I assume, Dave, the training demands nowadays are much higher than post or pre-UEFA.
I'm just thinking if we're not careful, we're just going to end up with football just for the elite local players, and we're going to lose a lot of players that could have played football. And I'm not saying that Jamie Vardy's an example. Leicester signed him at 25. Okay, he was let go by Sheffield Wednesday at 16 years old after being with the club since about 10, I think. So I'm not saying that we would have that many late developers, but I just don't want to lose that many players out of the game.
I think Kenneth just said it. Say balancing it. Here's the scenario on the coaching point of view. It's really hard. If you want to balance it and you want to compete, even with a weaker squad, and I'm happy to say that, no disrespect to my players, but we know we're a weaker squad, so we have to work harder to compete. In order to make them work harder, I need to train them harder. At the moment, we train 2 nights a week. So do I go to 3 or 4 nights a week training when we don't actually pay them any money?
Yeah.
We're not a professional football club.
Yeah.
I'm taking them away from their families, overtime at work, their kids. It's very different if I'm paying that player 100, 200, 300 pound a week, and I can tell them, you will train 4 nights a week because I'm paying you enough money to do it. And we will then go and I expect you to compete. So what we're trying to do here, all of us, myself, Hound Dogs, Lales, your teams, the bottom half, is we're all trying to find that perfect storm in a Leicester by 2 nights a week training or 1 night a week training. And as Kenneth said and you said, we can't compete when clubs are getting 600 and 800,000 pounds. I'm not saying that the money would change anything, but if
yeah, but it does.
But it does.
I mean, it does.
Yeah,
Look at Bruno's.
Yeah,
You're saying that Bruno's had a budget and Bruno's are punching above you because they've got that money.
Sorry, that was probably the wrong thing to say. The money changes things, but what it then changes is my mentality and then the players' mentality.
Yeah.
At the moment, I've got a happy mentality of players who know that I'm only asking them 2 nights a week. But it's two nights of 2 long hours where I try and get the most out of the guys as possible to get close to competing. But we're in a league that has 12 teams. 3 of them are way beyond everyone else. 2 or 3 of them have got some money and they're trying to break into that. And we know the problem if they do. If one of those teams, like Lynx or Bruno's, does break the top 3, we could see another club going, and it could be a big club, because where do you go from finding that money you were given, and you find a sponsor that says, "Yeah, I'm happy to give you 600,000 just to blow." Yeah. So where we are at the moment, you need teams like us to prop that league up. At this moment, the league needs us. Yeah, but
we need the balance. I agree 100%.
But and there has to be weaker teams, there has to be big teams. I accept that. But going back to Kenneth's original point, there needs to be just a little bit more share of the wealth. Just a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree with that.
It's kind of weird. As a coach, of course I want success. Of course I do. But I really enjoy doing what I'm doing at Manchester. I love it. The squad, the lads, and the expectation, and when we do play well, when we do have a great training session and we do go and put it on the pitch, because I know it's coming from in here. I know the lads turn up because they want to be there. It was slightly different, and this feeling, within 6 months, because I was, the lads were forced to be there. You have to train, you want to train, you get paid. It's a strange one. I'd rather do what I'm doing now, but then as any coach, I love the success that money brings.
I wouldn't